Sorry, this isn't a Marvel movie, but it is about superheroes. You know, those guys who generally save the day. As a kid, maybe you thought your dad was secretly a superhero. Maybe you imagined you were a superhero. Or maybe you and your friends battled imaginary alien robots. No matter the hero, they all have one thing in common. That person is not a superhero 24/7. They eventually change out of their hero outfit and go back to work at a newspaper or whatever, all while keeping their true identity a secret. Funny thing though, we tend to do the same thing. We often hide the real us from other people. And not like how your ex-girlfriend is actually an evil alien robot in disguise. That's just wishful thinking. In reality, we secretly deal with fears, stress, and school issues, like your villainous science teacher. So even if you're not taking down bad guys after school, we all have an alter ego.
So a few years ago, I was flying home from a mission trip and had a layover in Philadelphia. See, I've been traveling for over 24 hours. I spent the night on the plane. My breath smelled gross. My clothes smelled. My neck hurt because I fell asleep on the plane. And see, I was so ready to be home. But just before boarding, I found out my gate had changed to the other side of the airport. So when I exited the plane, I ran through the entire airport like Roadrunner, just cruising through each of the aisles. So somehow, in the frenzy of running to the gate and hanging on to all my bags, I hadn't noticed just how much my jeans have stretched out. While I paused for my friends to catch up, because I obviously was so much faster than them, I felt this breeze no one ever wants to feel. My jeans had dropped to my ankles. I froze. It felt like it was happening in slow motion. There they were, down at my ankles. Somehow, I managed to drop my bags, pull up my pants, and keep going. But I quickly realized that everyone on my flight had just seen more of me than I ever wanted them to. I was so embarrassed that I spent the next 3 hours on the plane trying not to make eye contact with anyone. Thankfully, I had the window seat. It was just so awkward. See, everyone has embarrassing moments. Maybe you accidentally text your coach instead of your girlfriend and call him sweetie. Maybe you fell down the steps on the bleachers at that school basketball game and tumbled all the way over into the court. Or maybe you've dropped your entire lunch in front of everyone. Embarrassing moments sneak up on all of us. And maybe the only good thing about them is that they're just that, just a moment. Eventually they'll fade and we're left with a really funny story. But see, many of us are living all the time with the feeling of an embarrassing moment gives us. We feel like we're not as smart, we're not as cool, or not as coordinated as everyone else around us. We feel like we're not good enough. We feel inferior. And it isn't just a moment. It's the way we consistently think and feel about ourselves. See, a lot of things can trigger this feeling. For instance, maybe you aren't comfortable with the way you look, you never feel in with your friends, or maybe you even struggle at school. Or maybe you just keep trying at that sport that you're just not that great at. See, your family finances situation is extremely difficult. Maybe your family actions make you cringe. You just can't get it right when it comes to making great choices. Consistently feeling this way is called shame. And see, shame equals believing you are bad, inferior. It's the belief that you do not measure up. See, guilt, on the other hand, could be a good thing. See, if you kick your sister in the teeth, don't recommend that. Don't try that at home. See, you're going to feel this sense of guilt. But see, shame is when you go from believing you did something bad to believing you are bad. See, shame says to you, hey, the way you look, the way you talk, and the way you think simply is not good enough. And this feeling of shame is such a big issue here at church. See, right now, some of you are wondering, if God is mad at you, shaking his head at you and so disappointed in you, you feel like even he thinks that you don't even measure up. You walk around with this sense of shame so strong and so heavy that it has an effect on everything you do and think about yourself. When it comes to shame, we all have it to some degree or another. And when we all feel the need to cover it up or to downplay it, that's why you might pretend like the things that bother you aren't really a big deal. You act like, oh, everything's okay, it's cool, bro, when your entire life is falling apart. So you try to draw attention to the good parts of your life so no one will ever notice the bad. So you keep a very low profile so no one notices you at all. See, shame makes you feel like you have to create an alter ego. another version of you. And see, no one is allowed to see the real you. And you're exhausted, you're tired. And see, here's some other symptoms. Shame creates distance. You know this already. What's the first thing you want to do when you experience an embarrassing moment? You go hide, right? That's what I did. That's what you do. See, you want to put as much distance as you can between you and the other people who were there. See, it's completely natural because shame feels like a label for who you are instead of what you did. See, you want to hide, all of you, your whole self. Shame creates distance between you and the people around you and between you and God. Shame holds you back from every relationship. Some of you have a relationship with Jesus, but it always feels like you're so far away. There's this distance because of how badly you feel about yourself and what you think about God and how he feels about you. See, even if you're not sure about God or church, what we're talking about here today is still for you. It's huge because, see, everybody deals with the effects of shame. We all have these things in our lives that makes us feel like we should run and hide. The question we have to ask today is, what are we going to do with our shame? Are we going to put up with it, ignore it, give into it, or miserably hide behind it? We're going to take a look today here at the book of Hebrews. This book was written with Jewish Christians in mind, but it also talks about what Jesus did and ties the two together. These verses show us something about Jesus that is so crucial for us when it comes to dealing with shame. So then, since we have a great high priest who has entered heaven, Jesus, the Son of God, let us hold firmly to what we believe. This high priest of ours understands our weaknesses, for he faced all the same testings we do, yet he did not sin. So let us come boldly to the throne of our gracious God. There we will receive his mercy, and we will find grace to help us when we need it most. The writer starts by talking about this great high priest. In that day, the high priest was the person who was the Jewish people's representative of God. The high priest would approach God on everyone's behalf and was the only one who qualified to be in God's presence in the temple. But before he could approach God, there was a series of ceremonies and rituals that had to take place. See, these ceremonies made him as clean and pure as possible before he approached and entered into God's presence. It was such a huge job. But what the author of Hebrews is saying this. It's saying Jesus is that high priest for us right here, right now. He's our representative of God. And the writer goes on to say and says this, so let us come boldly to the throne of our gracious God. There we will receive his mercy and we'll find grace to help us when we need it most. We can get so close to God, not shamefully, but boldly. Why? Because of Jesus. Since he is perfect, we have no need to worry about all the ways that we aren't. There's no room for shame between us and God because Jesus stands there. Shame will keep us from God, but Jesus allows you and I to run towards God knowing your shame has no place. Jesus has taken care of it all. He is your high priest. Shame holds you back, but Jesus pulls you close. Shame doesn't choose how you relate to God. Jesus does. Jesus made a way to get close to you and for you to get close to God. See, shame holds you back. Jesus pulls you close, no matter who you are, no matter what you've done. See, there's something else here I don't want you to miss. Something so huge. Jesus did all this by becoming one of us. These verses say he is able to relate to our weaknesses. He gets us. It's one of the main reasons why Jesus came, so we would know that he can relate to us. He understands the parts of us that we don't like or we're stuck with. He understands how shame works because of our weaknesses and failures and makes us want to isolate ourselves. And when you encounter shame, these verses are such great news. Jesus has experienced it all. You are not alone. Jesus understands that nagging sense of you're not good enough, that you feel when you try out for that baseball team and don't make it, or you try in that prom dress, or you listen to your dad yell at you over and over and over again, or you wait to find out if you've made that cast of your school play. You feel so trapped by the consequences of something you did years ago. Or you look at your SAT scores, or you hear someone talking about you. You remember those bad decisions you've made last weekend. And because Jesus understands, you can talk to him about it. You don't have to hide your shame. He knew you would be there, and he can help you heal if you will let him in. We all have these recordings that play in our head. They remind us of our fears, our insecurities, and hurtful words other people have said to us. They remind us of all of our shortcomings, failures, and all those places we do not measure up. Even if we know the truth, there's this voice in the back of our minds that constantly reminds us why we're not good enough. As long as those words run through your mind unchecked, they will drown out everything else, which means shame wins. So you have to make a conscious decision to stop that tape. That means every time words of shame or insecurity pop in your mind, and they will, you choose to interrupt them and remind yourself that they are not true. A great way to start is with one of these verses that we just looked at. When shame tells you that you aren't smart enough or pretty enough and that God is disappointed in you, remember what we read. Tell yourself, I can come boldly to a gracious God. I can receive mercy and find grace when I need it most. No matter who you are or what you've done, you can receive mercy and find grace when you need it most. And after you stop the tape, here's a great next step. Believing this. What Jesus did is so much greater than what you feel. You have to decide that what Jesus did for you and what Jesus thinks about you matters more than the shame you feel. It won't come naturally. You live in a world that tells you in a million different ways that you do not measure up because of who you are or what you've done. And it's so easy to believe these things, trust me. But you were made by a loving and great Creator. Jesus knew everything you would do and every weakness you would have, and he still wants a relationship with you. You matter to him so much. Now's a great time to start acting like that's true. That means you make a decision to stop putting yourself down, start giving yourself a break. God made you, he loves you, and he likes you too. The truth is, the way you feel about yourself is a choice. It's not easy, but it's within your power to no longer allow shame to have that final word or say. Shame doesn't get to decide how close you can be to God or others. You do. Don't let yourself be defined by what you aren't or what you've done. Don't let others be defined that way either. See, no matter how you feel or no matter what anyone tells you, your shame does not have to keep you from God. Jesus made a way for shame to lose its power. Shame holds you back. Jesus pulls you close. As you head out today, I want you just to think about the recordings that play in your head. What does it say? Where does it tell you that you don't measure up? And this week, decide to turn off those recordings. Press the mute button and refuse to listen to anything other than God's voice telling you that you can approach God boldly and receive mercy and find grace in him.